Then the piano abruptly stopped, and whatever was there stared right at us. Where the eyes should have been were just black holes in a pale face with dark hair. When I was young, there was an abandoned house behind our school that had many stories surrounding it. Some said they could hear the sound of a piano playing at night from the building, or that a woman wandered around there every night. So we were always curious about it. Then one friend who loved ghost stories suggested we go check it out together. I was curious too and thought it could be fun, so I agreed to go with them. The day before, we prepared by getting flashlights and cameras, planning to go right after school ended. Though we were all a bit scared of the strange stories, our curiosity was greater. We pretended to go home, but the four of us snuck off to the abandoned house instead. As the sun set, the surroundings grew very dark. When we arrived at the abandoned house, we really could faintly hear the sound of a piano from afar. We thought maybe we misheard it at first, but it was definitely a faint sound. The atmosphere suddenly felt eerie, and one friend said they couldn't go any further. So we decided to just cautiously try to find where the piano sound was coming from. But as we followed the sound, it grew louder and seemed to emanate from one room of the abandoned house. Mustering our courage, we peeked through a window, and there really was someone playing the piano. In one way it looked human, but there was no shadow, as if no one was really there. Then the piano abruptly stopped, and whatever was there stared right at us. Where the eyes should have been were just black holes in a pale face with dark hair. One of us screamed, and terrified, we all dropped our gear and ran away. As we fled, I glanced back and saw a light flicker in the abandoned house. We couldn't sleep properly that night. The next day, I looked into the history of that abandoned house out of curiosity. Apparently someone from the family that used to live there was an excellent pianist, and then the entire family had gone missing suddenly. After that, people started telling stories about a ghost appearing there. What we saw was likely one of those haunting stories come to life. Even going back during the day to retrieve what we'd dropped, we were terrified. My friend claimed to have snapped a photo of the ghostly pianist before we ran, but when they developed it later, there was nothing on it. Scared, they even burned that blank photo. After that, none of us went anywhere near that abandoned house again. Years later, when I was an adult, a friend mentioned that abandoned house had finally been torn down and developed. But even now when I think back, I can still picture those black holes where the eyes should be.